It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Cool. There he is. Welcome to the third and final race of the weekend, day I should say, not the weekend. This is the GT3 side of Porsche Sprint Challenge North America presented by Yokohama. Hi everybody, I'm Jeremy Scott. Joe Peak joining us, and Joe, we have a very special guest here for this race.
Yes, indeed. Riley Dickinson is going to be joining us for this and telling us about your perspective from inside the car, because as we were talking about in the last race, we know racing well, but we don't know it like you know it.
Yeah, no, very much looking forward to this. It's going to be a bit of a different perspective for me. Yeah, really looking forward to it. So thank you guys for having me. It looks like this is going to be a pretty interesting race. We have a lot of guys that are, pretty heavy hitters in this one, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we've seen also in practice and qualifying that a lot of these drivers that we don't normally see up near the front, especially in Cayman and the West, they've really challenged themselves. So we'll pick your brain on that in just a little bit. Joe, let's take a look at the track map real quick as we're flying over Circuit of the Americas.
Indeed, it's a tricky one with 20 turns around this 3+ mile circuit. It's a lot of elevation change here. Probably most well known because, of course, track limits are a big talking point, but that doesn't mean that you will get a fast lap time no matter what. It's incredibly technical, as you can see through the S's sections, a lot of these fast corners that the drivers will be working through. Expect pass attempts into turn 1, into Big Red, as they go through the S's there. Turn 6 is going to be critical for setting up through 7, 8, and 9, where eventually 11 also might offer some chances, but 12 at the end of that long back straight might be the more likely place to see an overtake. Turn 15, extremely difficult there in the stadium section where you've got to get the line right to try and get yourself a good lap time. And then, of course, turn 20 with Andretti. Jeremy, setting yourself up for this long front straight.
And, of course, the cars are at the end of pit road. There's just so many great places to basically make your way through the circuit as we see some side-by-side. Pace car has their lights on. We'll go one lap, and then we'll release them for 35 minutes plus one lap. And, Riley, talk about a situation like this where you have to monitor where your track is, where the cars around you are, because we've seen a lot where drivers, they will cut those track limits while they're racing.
Certainly. I mean, I think for today's race, probably the biggest factor is going to be the heat. Obviously, it's no secret for us that are here. It's definitely a very hot one out there today. And we saw in the West Coast GT3 race and also with the GT4s that the tire management was pretty important. So, overall, I think especially for the drivers towards the front of the field here, just managing the rear tire, especially not overslipping the rear, especially early on in this race, managing those track limits, not abusing it too much early on in the race. Ultimately you have 3 strikes until you get a penalty, and obviously race control is going to be looking at that very closely. So it's going to be a lot to manage for these drivers, and certainly the heat is definitely going to be a factor here.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup. Paul Bocuse with the pole. He'll be alongside teammate Ashley Freiberg in MDK Motorsports Lockout in row number 1. Row 2 is Jared Thomas and Anthony McIntosh. A little surprised to see Thomas at least one row back because he's done so well this year. Then it's Conrad Geis and David Musial. That's Musial 2.0, Joe. He's actually looking pretty good this weekend.
Yep, Therese Lou going to be in the inside of the next row with the other Musial Senior going to be next to her in 8th overall, fighting for that Masters class win. You get down to row 5 with Daniel Bloom starting in 9th and Scott Blend in 10th place. I'm pretty sure we're going to see him fighting upwards on this one. Joel Johnson going to be starting in 11th with Charlie Peter in the 12th position in his 991 machine. Then you've got Mike Mim in row 7, flanked by Niels Meissner, who's been very quick in that 991 class as well, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's going to make things interesting. And Tony Melito had a great weekend at Barber, and he's translating it into a good weekend here at COTA so far. He'll be alongside John Gilliland, a 991 alongside a 992 Masters. Let's go over to row 9, where it's Jody Miller alongside Frank Vitiello. We saw some onboard from him. He's having a little bit of a handful with that 248. Then it is Mark Bowden and Eric Lapp. Bowden, he set second in points in 992 Masters, looking to capitalize off one competitor not make it. We'll talk more about that. Eric Lapp, as we said, in the 297. Then it's Shane Leathers in the 992 Pro-Am class alongside Pat Womack of the WeatherTech Porsche, number 220 in the 992 Masters. And row 12, it's Alexander Chiachetti and Tim Kesman making his season debut here in 992 Masters.
And then a little bit farther back in row 13, John Manship is going to be flanked by Grady Willingham, 25th and 26th overall in this race. As we head back to Thomas Herb in 25th, he's got Gregory Shermer starting next to him in the 26th position, and yet more cars. It's a big field out here. Down to row 15, Francisco de Jesus starting 25th, and John Snyder in the 26th position. From there on down, you've got Rob Walker, unfortunately unable to take part in this race.
And of course, he is the 992 992 Masters points leader, so that's going to hurt him because right behind him, you've got Mark Bowden, Scott Blend, and Jody Miller all within 37 points. Pace car is off. Paul Bocuse, Ashley Freiberg, 1 and 2 as they come down into turn 20. Down and ready. Now remember, for the start of the race, we will use the FIA start line. So they're going to go past the finish line, and that's when they will take the green flag. They've got a little bit of a zone, per se, to have to go through as the field works their way down the straightaway, side by side. Nice and tight formation as we have eyes on the starter through the start zone, and we are green. Bocuse with a nice jump on the inside, and of course Freiberg trying to lean on Thomas going into turn 1, but McIntosh, he's going to try and go around the outside. Thomas with the advantage through turn number 1. He goes from 3rd to 1st, holding off both MDK Motorsports drivers. Little bit of a schmozzle near the back, but Joe, what a move by the points leader.
It looks like they're all going to stay pointed forward, so that's the good news on that one, but my goodness, they've been having such a tough time trying to keep Thomas from taking these wins, Jeremy, and he takes the lead immediately.
Oh, what a fantastic pass. He's had so much luck this year, and even this past month in racing, as we are seeing Thomas trying to lead over Freiberg, but Freiberg, she's not done with Thomas yet. Riley, you were pointing something out there.
Yeah, I believe it was Mark Bowden. I saw a spin on the exit of turn 6 there, but yeah, what a move by Jared Thomas down the inside. We see Paul looking down the inside as well for, I believe that's turn 11. Isn't able to make it stick.
Yeah, Ashley Freiberg, she's got all that she can to try and get around Thomas. Now, we're at the point right now where these tires, they're not up to temperature yet. So Freiberg trying her best to stay off those curbs. That's what Yokohama recommended. This is Therese Lalou in car as they go down the back straightaway for the first time in anger. Right now, it's Thomas and Freiberg 1-2 heading into turn number 12.
Lulu was not smiling for perhaps the first time I've ever seen her not smiling because she was unhappy with her qualifying. Said her teammate kind of got in the way of her fastest lap and cost her what would have been a much better starting position as they file through this sequence. Is there any real trick to this, Riley? Because I was just saying earlier, I never feel like I get this right.
Yeah, I mean, so with these Yokohama tires, I mean, obviously they've done a great job of creating a tire that's, very much driver dependent, so to speak. Obviously whenever these tires are new, but also whenever you have a scrub to begin this race, you really want to utilize the freshness of the tire as quick as you can in these first couple laps, really try and build a gap like what Jared Thomas is trying to do right now on Ashley. So, ultimately after about 3 to 4 laps, then you're really going to settle in and kind of get into your rhythm and then ultimately just kind of settle into the pace of the race, see how it plays out.
And here's what I think is interesting, too. At the start of the race, the biggest loser there was Paul Bocuse. Went from second to fourth. Now McIntosh is holding him up, but Bocuse trying to go along the inside. Also, Freiberg to the inside as well. Does she get that advantage coming off of turn number 1? No, but Bocuse able to get around McIntosh, and now they're leaning on each other going through turn number 2.
Hey, McIntosh wants that spot back, and look who's coming up behind them. It's Musial 2.0, who's starting to get a little bit close. He could sniff a bit of a podium here if he plays his cards right.
Oh, that's a great showing from Musial 2.0. We know that both of the Musials had a little bit rough go of it, and of course Musial getting a little off the line just a little bit. How much does that hurt you in this S's section where you've got to pretty much stay on the line?
It definitely hurts you a lot. I mean, it's quite an interesting track how it has been designed. Certainly from the exit of turn 1, it's very much connected the SS section all the way until really the exit of turn 10. Coaching the guys that I have this weekend for the USA West, with Blake McDonald, we've been really focusing on that SS section. Looking at the data and everything, it's very much apparent that from the exit of turn 1, your hands, they never actually completely open up, and you never have a chance to take a breath until the exit of turn 10. So it's very much connected. Certainly if you do miss the line a little bit there, you can certainly pay the price later on down through the S's.
Lulu looking to the inside of Musial 2.0. She breaks just a little bit later, but does the younger Musial try and get around? No, he does not go for the over-under. Move Lulu up to 5th for the time being. Musial 1.0, that is your leader in 992 Masters. Charlie Peter, your leader in 991. But Joe, he's got at least one car between him and Meissner.
Yeah, Daniel Bloom right now is acting as the meat and the sandwich on that one, so Meister's going to want to try and make quick work on that. Lulu, if she can come home with his 5th, this will tie her best finish of the season as she got a P5 back in the first race of Barber. They still have McIntosh a little bit up the road to try and catch up to, though.
Yeah, so we see another lap logged on the books. Let's see what Freiberg can do to Thomas now, but Thomas was able to open up that gap just a little bit. This is really the first time, Joe, that we've seen Thomas actually have a little bit of difficulty trying to gap the field, because usually by this time he's 5-6 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Yeah,
he's been way quicker, but I think Ashley really wants to show what she can do. What's interesting about these two is, I guess you could say that Thomas is gapping the field. It's just he's bringing Ashley along. They're already running away.
Yeah, that's an interesting fact as well, because you take a look at the gap between Freiberg and Bocuse. That's 2 seconds right there. But you also have McIntosh trying to he was trying to get up to Bocuse. Now he's got to hold off Lulu. Riley, looks like that Lulu is actually able to catch up just a little bit to McIntosh there. That's a battle for 4th.
Yeah, she's doing a fantastic job so far in this race. She's certainly using the goodness of the tire, like what we mentioned earlier. Certainly she has a bit of an advantage to the S's. We'll see how she does through Sector 2 and Sector 3, but she's doing a fantastic job right now at the beginning phase of this race.
Yeah, looks like things are calming down just a little bit, Joe, as we just clock in 29 and a half minutes left.
Yep, 35 minutes plus 1 lap is the race distance for this one. A little bit behind this, I'm also kind of curious what's going to be happening between Musial Sr. and Scott Blend for that battle for the lead in the Masters. They have Charlie Peter kind of in between them as well, so that could prove to be a fun fight. Is down to the inside. Blend actually sees Daniel Bloom go on the attack down to turn 12. Is he going to be able? No, excuse me, that's Meissner.
That's Meissner on Scott Blend. So Meissner has gained 2 positions at least since he has, or is it he fallen back? Let's find out here in just a little bit, because take a look at Gilliland sitting there right behind Blend. That is actually a battle for class position.
It is, and I didn't want to mention it, but Scott, he's had a bit of a tough go at it this year so far. So for him to be in a podium position right now, I'm sure he's quite happy with that. I know the Kelly Moss guys are going to be on the radio just letting him know the situation, but really would like to see him get a podium this race.
And, of course, Meissner trying to chase down the 166 of Charlie Peter. That's a fantastic team in and of itself as we see him going around Andretti. It's Team Phoenix, so you've got Charlie Peter, the driver, Hans Peter. That's his dad, as we all know he's a stud. And, of course, you also have Merle Swan, who's the wrench behind that. That right there, it's a small team, Riley, but it's a very potent team.
It is, and they certainly have the 991.2 car figured out. Obviously, Niels, he had a great weekend at Sebring and also at Barber as well, but of course, Charlie Peter came to Barber and definitely gave Niels a run for his money, so certainly they have it figured out, and they're doing a fantastic job as well.
Joe, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, Peter, he came in and took both wins at Barber, which really kind of wowed us because, Meissner, like I said, in the first race was the one to beat.
Yep.
So he's kind of picking that back up here. Granted, at this stage, Meissner's holding on to him, but he can't let him get away too much.
But it wasn't the fact that he was able to take both wins. It's the fact that first practice he came out with a statement that, hey, I'm back and I'm going to take this win.
Yeah, but it's funny from my perspective. So I was actually coaching Niels for Sebring, but also at Barber as well,
right,
as well as John Gilliland. So for Niels, he certainly was definitely very much up on the wheel and certainly was like, okay, the kid came to play, so I'm gonna fight back a bit and see what he was able to get done. But he's very, very close to Charlie right now. Doing a great job. I think this will also be a great race as the time starts to run out here.
Still also watching on our timing sheets, McIntosh, Lelou, and Musial, that three-way battle for fourth place as well. A lot of great battles early on in this race. We see our wonderful drone shots. Still have Gilliland trying to catch up with Blend. And I've got to say, I noticed a big difference between Sebring and Barber with Gilliland. What was it that finally clicked at Barber?
Yeah, well, I think at Barber we were able to have a bit of time in between Sebring. Between Sebring and Barber, there's about maybe I guess it was a month or so of time just to really decompress, really go through the Sebring race weekend and really just understand what went right, what went wrong, and really grow from it. But, certainly he's doing a great job. This is his first year in Sprint Challenge competition, first season as well with the 992 GT3 Cup car. So he's certainly coming to grips with it. It's obviously a bit of an animal in its own right, the Cup car itself. So, no, he's doing a great job. Definitely taking it step by step.
Joe, we're watching Dave Musial 1.0 as he is leading the Masters class, and I've got to say, I've known the Musials for a while. This right here does not surprise me. We saw at Barber at Sebring how they were still trying to come to grips with the GT3 car because they came from a different manufacturer's single-make series. Now we're starting to see what both the Musials can do here at a track where they've both raced at so far this season.
Exactly, and we had made that comment in qualifying where I said I was pleasantly surprised to see them up there, and you kind of said, yeah, well, it just took them a little bit to kind of get a handle on things. And I think the most important thing is that now Musial Sr. has Charlie Peter, Daniel Bloom, Niels Meissner, all between himself and Scott Blend. He's got a huge buffer.
He does. Riley?
Yeah, I hope we're able to go and take a look at the fight for second and third place overall with Ashley and Paul. Ashley, she just ran a 11.4. Paul just at a 10.8. So he's closing the gap to Ashley a little bit here. So hopefully we're able to see that battle that'll be coming up here pretty soon. Yeah,
it should be coming around the circuit right now as they go into the stadium section. But yeah, Jared Thomas finally with that little bit of a bigger lead, 2.3 seconds over Ashley Freiberg. Then it's Paul Bocuse, Anthony McIntosh, and Therese Lelou rounding out your top five. Musial 2.0 is 6th, leading in 992 Masters is Musial 1.0 in the 226 Joker. There's your leader. There's your battle for second place right there. So we're seeing what Freiberg can do here as Bocu's trying to keep her honest, I should say.
And I feel like there may have been a mistake from Ashley because she was a lot closer to Thomas. So the fact that not only has she lost ground to Jared, but to see Paul suddenly right on top of her, maybe there was a bit of a hiccup last lap.
Well, here's the thing. This past time by, Jared Thomas with a 10.4, Freiberg with a 10.9, and Bocuse with a 10.7. I'm not discounting, Thomas deciding, okay, it's time to drop the hammer. because we've seen what he can do. He basically runs close to qualifying laps. Every lap he's out in front. But Riley, this battle right here is very interesting because Bocuse, he's the defending Cayman Pro-Am champion. He's coming on to try and hang with his more experienced teammate.
Agreed, and I believe, looking back to last year, I want to say he won one of the Cayman races here last year, whether it was the makeup race for one of the events or the other two that were the official races. But no, he's certainly done a good job here at COTA. He did a really nice job in qualifying. We were all watching the qualifying session from, obviously the West Coast side. We already had our qualifying session done this morning. We were up in the suite up top of the garages watching the qualifying session here for the North America guys and girls. But Paul did a great job, so definitely have to give credit where credit's due. Looking ahead to tomorrow for the endurance race, him and his co-driver are certainly going to be a potent combo, so definitely looking forward to that. But this battle is definitely going to heat up here pretty quick.
Joe, we see that now that gap is opened up to about 4 or 5 car lengths going down into turn number 12.
Yeah, it seems like Ashley's got a bit of a handle on it now, but it's still last time at the line about 2.8 seconds behind Thomas, which is going to be frustrating for them because, as I said, Jared's the one that's had the target on his back. Everybody's been wanting to try to beat him, and that qualifying almost kind of gave us a false dawn in a sense that we thought, oh, wow, they're bringing the competition to him. And then immediately before the first lap is even over, he's up to the front. And it seems like, Riley, that, track position controlling this race has been relatively important because we saw that in the Caymans too.
It's everything. Especially in this GT3 Cup car, it's definitely everything. You're able to control the pace. You can control the cadence of how everything happens. And obviously, if it does happen, if a full course yellow comes out, you're able to control the restart and you're really able to manage a lot of things better from the front of the field, of course. So, certainly I know Jared, he probably was not pleased with that qualifying effort, just given what he's done already this year. So, he certainly had that on his mind, and he definitely took care of business over in turn 1 on lap 1.
Charlie Peter, this past time by, actually got around Musio 1.0 for overall position. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, if we do have a full course yellow, it's Riley Dickinson's fault, not ours. All right, so we've got 21 minutes left in this race, and look at this battle for position. This is 15th on back, so that would be Shane Leathers, Mike Mim, who's looking to the inside of Leathers, both for some great showings. This is Mim's second weekend in the GT3 class here at Porsche Sprint Challenge. And what's interesting about Mim, Joe, I did some digging over the past gap. Let me put it to you this way. He's a 23 Cayman Pro-Am runner-up, and he also ran the first 2 rounds of PSC Southern Europe. He's got a lot of experience in the Porsche platform globally, and this is what Porsche wants. They want their drivers to go explore other series, race other tracks, so they have that experience.
Yeah, I have to imagine that for him this is, sharpening his blade because this is new competition. These are drivers that he's not familiar with, bringing something else to the table. Got to watch out behind them. Tony Melito's from another class in that red machine.
Yeah.
So he's not really his concern, but at the same time, he doesn't want to let him by.
Well, here's the thing, too. So Melito and Leathers are both very familiar with one another. They're both from the same area. They've both raced at the same private country club. Same with Mark Bowden, who is back there as well. So you have 3 drivers who know each other very well, know their clicks, know what they're going to do. And Bowden's a team owner of Tony Melito. So, Bowden has the ultimate advantage here as he looks to the inside in turn number 12. Look at how low that front end got as he tried to break deep to get Melito.
Yeah, and now he's going to try and cut back underneath to see if he can maybe pull on him there. Vitiello in behind them, gets a front row seat of the action. We're going to go 2 wide down through the stadium section. Is that outside line going to work? Yes, indeed it is.
Yeah, for now, but Melito's going to try and do the over-under, and Bowden able to get back on the gas quicker. And Riley, what's that like, being able to make that pass in such a tough area and be able to make it stick?
Well, it's very difficult in that section. So, the way that this track, again, the way that it was designed, it promotes really good racing in that section. It's very, very low speed. You have, obviously, the long back straightaway going into turn 12, so you can make a pass, like what Mark did on on Tony there. So, obviously if you overcharge the entry to 12, then obviously the other car can come up underneath and try and make a move over there in 13. Then obviously then you can switch back again for 15. So it's very much nip and tug. So, just making sure that you don't overcharge the entries for those corners when making a move is certainly important. But, it's definitely a good place to have a little battle.
Joe, the next driver on Mark Bowden's list is Shane Leathers in the 275. Looks like that Shane's opened up just a little bit of a gap from Bowden catching up to him on the front stretch.
And we have to remember Bowden is racing in the Masters, Leathers in the Pro-Am. I think, if anything, it's Leathers kind of frustrating that he's losing touch with Mim here, because after Mike made that pass, he's gone.
Yeah, he ran a 14.0 compared to a 15.7. But, Riley, how much is it Shane trying to make sure to keep Mim behind him was the reason why he was like 1.7 seconds slower that lap?
Yeah, I mean, so you saw there was a bit of a battle back and forth. So, obviously whenever you go offline to either protect or to try and make a move, you're going to be a little bit slower, of course. So probably that 1.7 deficit was just in the heat of the moment for their little battle that they had there towards the back of the field. But yeah, so we have another battle looking like on the back straightaway, Scott Blinn trying to make a move. And also if we look more at the sharper end of the field, so both Ashley and Paul both did their personal best laps of the race. So, maybe Jared Thomas is able to either sit back and just kind of manage the gap a little bit, or maybe Ashley and Paul are starting to turn it up a little bit.
Yeah, good catch on that one. They both were just mildly faster than him, but that's enough with how much time we have left that, I don't think that Jared can really rest on his laurels if they're starting to cut down on that gap, Jeremy.
Yeah, they are. We saw it as high as 3 seconds. Now it's 2.2 seconds. So this must be team orders saying, hey, hook up, catch up with Thomas. And I think knowing that MDK crew as kind of well as I do, we got a battle for position. Let's talk about that real quick as we see Lulu trying to hold off Musial 2.0. 2.0 trying to get around 2, but he's not going to. Now Lulu, she's got her sights set on the battle for 4th place, but the younger Musial, he's going to try and get around Lulu. He's had a great race all race long. Anyway, back to my point. Riley, I would imagine the MDK Motorsports crew, both of them went on and said, hey, hold position, get up to Thomas, then you can race.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think there's probably some conversation that happened there, but I think also from Freiburg's perspective, the best offense in this situation is to just simply keep pushing forward, right? Mm-hmm. To try and either build herself a bit of a gap back to Paul behind her, or just, quite frankly, try and go and chase down Jared and just focus in front, keep hitting your marks and continue to chip away, because she clearly is a bit faster right now in this stage of the race.
Well, Joe, we've got 16 minutes left to go, but take a look at the dots that we have here in the booth. I would imagine in the next couple of laps, we would see our leaders catch up to the 149 of Shermer and the 121 as well of De Jesus.
Yeah, that's going to be some of our lap traffic in the 991s. They've got a little bit of time. I'm more interested and looking at the gap from P3 down to P4, 11 seconds. We talked about whether or not those top drivers are pushing. I'd say that's an emphatic yes.
Yeah, exactly. Take a look at their lap times. 2:11, 2:10, 2:10, 2:13 by McIntosh, and then a 2:12.4 by Lulu, Musial 2.0 with a 2:12.12. So, yeah, the top three, they're really pushing this. And I've got to say this, especially with Bocuse being a rookie to the 992 platform, Riley, he's really come onto his own this season.
He certainly is. And that's a bit of a testament as well to the MDK Motorsports program. They've certainly put together a good program for Paul, and he's definitely putting the work in. He's always at testing events. He's always getting as many laps as he can. He's doing a great job as he looks potentially down the inside here on Ashley for turn 1. He's going to hold off on it, think better, and just get himself a better run potentially maybe for turn 12. But they're definitely applying the pressure to one another, but also definitely keeping touch with Jared Thomas up there in the front.
Thomas, Freiburg, Bocuse, your top three. Then it's McIntosh, Lelou, Musial. You round out your top six. Charlie Peter, your 991 leader, sits 7th. 8th is Daniel Bloom. 9th, Dave Musial 1.0 is your Masters leader. Then Niels Meisner rounds out your top 10, Joe.
Yeah, and let's not forget that in that Masters battle, Musial still has Blinn and Gilliland chasing, but Actually, it looks like, has Gilliland been catching up to Blind? Because I'm looking at that gap at the line. It was about half a second between them. I don't think it was that close before.
You know, it seems like here comes Bocuse looking to the inside of Freiberg, thinks better of it. You know, he's trying to get around his teammate's head, but you really don't want to do that, especially when you have a gap that big between first and second. But Gilliland really has been hanging tight with Blend for a good part of the race. We've seen that happen as leaders working their way down into turn number 12. Bocuse still a little too far away to make anything happen.
No, just not able to do anything. He definitely wants to try and pass, and I'm sure that's the frustrating aspect if they were told to push and try to catch up to Thomas, is if he thinks he's quicker, he knows he doesn't want to slow the two of them up. But at the same time, he could be thinking to himself, I could cut down this gap so much faster.
Yeah, last time by 11-0 out of Freiberg, 10-8 out of Bocuse. So, yeah, maybe he's on the radio petitioning to the MDK crew, Riley. Hey, I'm faster. Let me by.
Yeah, I mean, it's for a podium position, so I would hope that there's not that radio transmission to Ashley. But no, certainly if Paul, if he has the opportunity, he's going to go for it. But, you know, in this stage of the race, it's very important just to make a smart move. You know, not only is it his teammate, but also as far as his gap to Jared, he wants to make sure he's not going to lose that much time on making an overtake, and they took out, it looks like, another tenth of a second here as well to Jared. So, you know, certainly they have the pace. I think Paul probably has a little bit more in it in his car right now. So, you know, if he's able to get by Ashley, he'll have, you know, hopefully we'll call it about 10 minutes to go. So we'll say maybe 5, 6 laps if he could try and make something happen. But it's certainly getting to the closing stages of this race.
That's the voice of Riley Dickinson as he is here this weekend helping out with BR Racing in the USA West. Well, let's talk about your season thus far as everything's kind of copacetic. Miami last round. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so Miami last round, that was an interesting one for me. So I was coaching for that event. I wasn't actually driving. I was driving in that one, of course, in 2023 for the Porsche Carrera Cup North America. You know, we had a great weekend there last year. But yeah, being on the sidelines there on the pit lane was definitely a different feeling. You know, having the cars going through the pit lane, just seeing a different side of things. It's definitely been different for me. You know, obviously being in the Cup system for the last 5 years now. You know, starting in what was formerly called the GT3 Cup Challenge USA by Yokohama. That was, you know, before Sprint Challenge and Carrera Cup became two prominent single make series here in North America. And then obviously in 2021, once Carrera Cup was announced, Sprint Challenge came right along with it. But no, it's been great. But yeah, for me this year, racing in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge with Kelly Moss and Riley Motorsports, and you know, no affiliation to me, Riley Dickinson, but Riley Motorsports is obviously Bill Riley and his family and his operation. You know, they do a fantastic job. You know, we've done a great job so far this year.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Riley, because seeing these drivers come up through the Porsche Sprint Challenge, Porsche is very proud of its ladder system. What are they learning in these races, in this series, with it being kind of one of the lower rungs?
Yeah, I mean, it's all relative, right? So saying that it is a lower rung, you know, it's obviously, you know, it's all relative to what's happening inside that car. So, you know, being able to go out and get seat time on tracks that you're going to go race at, whether it be in a Carrera Cup or an open competition, is extremely invaluable. You know, going through the testing regimen and going through the different practices and qualifyings and racing simulations, and obviously, you know, here at the track for the official weekends. And as we see, you know, Ashley and Paul have definitely made a bit of a charge to Jared now that we switch back to them. But, you know, going through races like this where things can evolve, you know, Jared, he can pull out to a bit of a gap, and then Ashley, she's able to close back up through the middle to the late phase of the race. You know, it's very, very good experience. You know, certainly it's been a very good and proven product, not just here in North America, but also throughout the world. You know, the Sprint Challenge program. That was a big move.
Big slide by Thomas,
Yeah.
and that has given Ashley Freiberg a chance to catch up. So now the game is on with 10 minutes and a lap left to go. While you're talking, Riley, I was looking at the lap times: 11:7 out of Jared Thomas, 10:7 out of Freiberg.
Yeah, I mean, and this is actually a little bit what we saw in the USA West race, you know, just with the rear tire starting to fall off around 10 to 15 minutes to go. You know, Jared there, whenever he had that slide in 7, he also had an oversteer moment on the entry to 8. And he actually missed the inside a little bit, which allowed Ashley to close up even more. I'm actually a bit surprised that Paul isn't able to hold station with Ashley, but, you know, I certainly feel like he's definitely pushing in that car. But, you know, Ashley's done a great job managing her tire. Jared missed the apex again. Ashley's going to try down the inside potentially.
Yeah, and she's
Yep.
going to go to the
There she
inside
goes.
there in 13
Wow.
as she gets it, but does she hold on to it? Thomas with a nose there on her door. Oh, they go deep into the inside, but Ashley gets the better of it. Move Freiberg, but
Jared back down
Thomas.
the inside.
Yeah, Thomas went to the inside. Who comes out on first heading into the carousel?
Should be Jared.
It's still Jared Thomas, but Freiberg. She does not want any part of trying to lose that lead. She's going to keep within a car length's distance, so looks like, Joe, that Freiberg is starting to see some weaknesses.
Yeah, absolutely. She knows that there's blood in the water, so she's got to attack now. She tried it. I mean, credit to Thomas. That's amazing that he came out ahead. I thought she had that pass done. But, I mean, I'm starting to get the sense here, Riley, that maybe Thomas has used up his stuff a little too much in the early stages.
He certainly has. He certainly has. You can see with just the characteristic of that car how it's rotating through the corner. It's over-rotating, so to speak. The front tire is overworking the rear tire, so he's having to be very, very cautious and precise with how he turns into the corner. But, Ashley, she's doing a great job now pressuring up on him. It kind of goes back to middle of the race whenever we mentioned, okay, maybe does Ashley let Paul by so Paul can go challenge, but that's why you always have to fight for everything that you have, and ultimately something like this can happen in the race, and now Ashley's in a position where she could go get the overall win here.
Well, let's see what happens this time by, as that's where we first saw a little mistake out of Thomas. It's very rare to see him make a goof through that stretch as he is coming under attack. By the way, the 149 to Greg Shermer, Joe, that's the lap car ahead of him.
Aha, so now it's going to get even more interesting. She's got a potential pick situation where she could distract him for a moment, or if that car just is placed at exactly the wrong spot for Thomas, she could capitalize on that. We had a problem for Meissner.
Yeah, I looked on the screen, I saw the red dot flashing, and Meissner with an off. That is a rare mistake out of the points leader, 991.
He's going to be frustrated with himself on that one. Question is, did Melito get by? Because it looked like he had a lot of cars between himself and the 152.
We'll take a look at that here momentarily as we do see that Freiberg once again closing up, Riley.
And then just as another quick point as well, so John Gillen, he's now up into second for the Masters category. He's chasing down, I guess we call him 1.0, David Musel Sr.
Yep.
So he's chasing down David Musel Sr. Hopefully he's able to get up close to them. Maybe we have a bit of a fight there. But Ashley's definitely applying the pressure now to Jared.
And Blenn's doing all he can to hold off, looks like Joel Johnson there for third place in the 992 Masters. Now, this gets fun as we see Freiberg keeping pace with Thomas. Last time by, she had a second lap faster than Thomas. What does she have now? They both are on pace, toe-to-toe, as we approach 6 minutes and 1 lap left to go. Eyes are on these two, the 296 and the 222. Sitting back in third, Joe, is Bocuse in case something goes awry with both of them.
I think Paul is sitting in a very good position here because those two battling opens the door potentially. He's got to get a little closer, I think, to really jump on this, but we've already seen once, at least, that these two are ready to tussle.
Yeah, they are. And Riley, this is a race that anything can happen here in the remaining 6 minutes.
Absolutely. And if I'm Paul right now, I'm pushing so incredibly hard inside that car just to try and inch myself closer to this top two battle, because certainly if anything will happen at any stage of the next 6 minutes here, it's going to be definitely a bit of a time deficit to them. So hopefully if Paul was able to inch his way up closer to these two, maybe he can make something happen for the win here.
Freiberg with a look on the inside, not going to make anything happen through the hairpin. Joe, this is what we saw between Lee and McDonald in the West race. We saw that, and it just took McDonald to just make a little mistake for Lee to get past.
She's got a good run here.
Yep.
I noticed she was setting him up on the exit there, Riley, and he's got the inside. She's going to try and go for it as she looks to outbrake him into turn 12. Can she finish the job? She's going to be on the wrong side. She squeezes him off the track.
That was a good move, as now Freiberg opens up just a little bit of a gap. And I noticed in the braking zone too that Thomas came in and kind of squeezed her down as well.
Yeah, but what was interesting, though, is that Jared, he never actually defended going into the corner. I would have thought that he would have maybe made his one move down to about middle of the track just to try and defend a little bit going in the braking zone, but that was certainly a forceful move by Ashley there through turn 12 and to the exit.
So move the 222 of Ashley Freiberg to the lead. And Joe, I think this is the first time that Jared Thomas has lost the lead when he had it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he wasn't in the lead at the green flag, but he led the first lap. So yeah, we've seen him basically at the other position this entire season. Now, for the first time, Ashley Freiberg is going to be leading in the 992 Pro-Am category. Now she's got to bring it home, though. Is the speed that we were thinking she has over Thomas legit, or is he going to be able to fight back?
Well, we got about 3 laps to go when you're counting the plus 1 lap, so anything can happen. You've got 60 turns to go, basically. Riley, when you have the lead like that, what are your thoughts on trying to keep that lead? Well, now we're seeing Ashley is gapping Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that you have to do is just give yourself a nice deep breath inside the car, right? You know, don't necessarily celebrate, but obviously just kind of process the fact that you are now into the lead. Take a deep breath, just kind of let everything settle down a bit inside the car, and now just let's go hit your marks and go chip away and, you know, try your best to go and pull a gap as much as you can. And now, you know, of course, for Ashley, her best friend right now is Paul. If he's able to get up to Jared here and make at least a little bit of a move happen just to create a bit of a gap, you know, try and get that, you know, buffer between herself and Jared or Paul behind. So, you know, we'll see what happens here, but it's going to be very interesting. But it looks like Ashley's going to get this thing done.
Well, still plenty of time left, but yeah, she's opened up an even bigger gap at the line. It was a half a second. I would imagine it's going to be a little bit bigger this time by, but Bocuse, he wants that second place finish, Joe. But nonetheless, a great move by Freiberg, great defense, and we're seeing now what she can do with that car under her in the start of the race.
Yeah, if you're Thomas now, it's damage control time. Don't lose another position to Bocuse and let yourself get flustered out there. Also, I did want to mention, we never followed up on it, but Melito did get by Meissner. He's into P2 in the 991s.
That's fantastic. Great to see that Tony Melito doing all he can, but unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be able to catch up to Charlie Peter unless Peter has something that goes wrong. Right now, your podium, provisional podium in 992 Masters is Dave 1.0, that's Musial 1.0, John Gilliland, and Joel Johnson. A great showing from Johnson, Joe.
Yeah, Joel's been doing a great job on this one, and he's a little bit behind Gilliland, unfortunately, so I don't think he's going to be able to get it. And here goes Paul.
Bocuse deep to the inside, not going to make anything happen, but Riley, he was up under there, so gives a chance maybe coming into turn number 12 for Paul Bocuse to do something.
Certainly. You know, I guess you could say he's starting to work him over a little bit, you know, trying to set him up, trying to see where he's weak, where he's a bit stronger. So, you know, certainly trying to see where he can make the move. Turn 1, that was definitely a spot where he could have done it. Just Jared obviously did a bit better job on the brakes, was able to outbrake him, and Paul just had to settle for going through the corner behind him.
White flag this time by for our leader, whether it be Freiberg, most likely, or Jared Thomas, Paul Bocuse. Those are your top 3. Then you got to go 18 seconds back to 4th place. McIntosh. Anthony's really been doing quite well so far this season when he has run, and it's great to see him just off the podium. And look at Lulu with a possible top 5 showing as well.
Yeah, it would be her second top 5 within 3 races. Curious how she'll feel about that, especially considering, like I said, she was a little bit irked about how qualifying wound up. If this is kind of what she expected, the position she expected to be in, I kind of hope that we'll get to see what's going on between Musial Sr. and Gilliland. Last I looked, they're only 4/10 apart.
Very, very close.
Yeah, and of course, Gilliland running about 1.5 seconds faster his past time by to Musial. Let's see if we can see where they are at on track. As they're actually coming around the hairpin. Musial trying to hold off Gilliland. And of course, they also have the 166 of Peter right within the sights as well.
Oh, Paul's starting to poke and prod some more here. I thought he was looking awful close through the stadium section. And once again, just looking left and right to seeing what kind of openings he can find on Jared Thomas. Last time, Riley, we saw him try it into turn 1. I'm kind of curious what he learned last time.
He's definitely going to try it again. I think he's definitely going to try it again.
That is a driver's confidence. By the way, white flag is out for Ashley Freiberg. She's opened up to a 1.6 second gap. Eyes on turn 1. Bocuse pops out. He's going to go side by side with Thomas, but Thomas once again gets the better braking, but he goes a little wide. They're still side by side going through turn 2.
Yeah, he just didn't commit to it fully, though. But, yeah, that was still a good try, though, from Paul. Jared did a nice job rolling around the outside. There's quite a bit of bumps in turn 1, so if you're actually on the inside of 1, it can actually be a bit to your detriment. So if you're able to be maybe a car width or so off the inside, you can actually roll a bit more speed. That's what Jared was able to do there.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say that was a great job by both of them to give racing space as well, because that's always my fear in turn 1. It's so easy to overshoot it.
Extremely easy. I can attest to that one.
No comment. We'll talk about that one off the camera. But look at Bocuse looking to the inside, and he's not going to make the move there, but he's still going to set himself up quite nicely for turn 12. You think it was a little too early?
I think it was too early. I mean, if the opportunity was there, I definitely would have taken it. But, the long back straightaway into turn 12, the draft is so powerful. So, I think Paul, whenever they go back and look at this, I think they'll certainly look at that and say, maybe we could have waited a bit longer, but obviously hindsight's always 20/20. But
in having Jan Magnussen in the trailer, as Bocuse goes a little lower than Thomas, but could it be too little too late? We'll find out here in just a couple of corners. Anyway, having Jan Magnussen in your corner is pretty good too.
Not so bad.
Yeah,
that's not so bad.
Not bad at all. So also that pass time by Peter lost 2 positions overall to Musial 1.0 and John Gilliland as they come around the carousel for the final time in anger. Ashley's opened up a 1.6 second lead, but I'll say this, Joe, this has been one to watch for the driver out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Calls Homer Glen home as well. Homer Glen, Illinois, southwest of Chicago. Eyes on the leaders. Bocuse tries to go to the inside of Thomas, but not going to make anything happen. Ashley Freiberg wins her first 992 race. Second place goes to Jared Thomas. Third to Paul Bocuse.
I know we're supposed to be impartial, but I've spent a lot of time with Ashley having her in the booth for the West Series, so I have to say I'm smiling ear to ear seeing her finally get that win.
I was going to say, yeah, I've been able to watch Ashley come up from Skip Barber, so this is kind of special being able to call one of her wins. Now we see the battle for fourth place as Lelou tries to look to the inside. She's not going to make it happen. McIntosh, Lelou, Musial 2.0. They finished 4th, 5th, and 6th, but our eyes are on the battle for the 992 Masters. Joe, is Dave Musial Sr. trying to get around trying to hold off John Gilliland?
Yeah, we're waiting to see them come around the corner here, and there he is.
Oh, look at that.
Did John get him?
John did not get him.
Where's John go?
So there's Bloom, there's Musial, and there's Peter. So Gilliland must have gotten into some more sort of mistake.
P3.
So Dave Musial Sr. 1.0 wins his first 992 race. Only took him 3 races. No surprise there. Charlie Peter goes 3-4-3. Riley, it's been great having you in the booth. Final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for starters, want to give a huge congratulations to Ashley for her win. That's super huge for her. She's obviously been working extremely hard this year. I know it's been a bit of a tough one off track for her, but certainly huge congratulations to her. She was definitely the one to make the statement here this weekend. So congrats to that whole program over there at IndyCar. Then also just want to give a quick shout out to John Gilliland for his first podium here in the Masters. The fellows over at Kelly Moss, they do a great job, and I know John's going to be very, very happy with that. So I'm probably going to go run down the podiums here and go give him a big hug.
We're going to go join you, and you're always welcome here in the booth this weekend. I know it's a hot one. So Riley Dickinson joining us in the booth, and Joe, we know you've got to get going as well, but let's wrap up today's proceedings. Joe, your final thoughts.
I thought that we saw fantastic racing today, and the fact that we've got more coming tomorrow with all these series all over again, plus the inaugural race in the Endurance Challenge bodes extremely well.
All right, let's go through a quick rundown of our top 20. Ashley Freiberg takes her first win in 992 Pro-Am, followed by Jared Thomas, Paul Bocuse, Anthony McIntosh, Dave Musial 2.0, and Therese Lelou round out your top 6. That's Daniel Bloom, your 992 Masters winner, Dave Musial Sr. He'll be ahead of the 991 champion, Charlie Peter, in the 166, followed by Joel Johnson rounding out your top 10. 11 through 20 includes John Gilliland, Mark Bowden, Jody Miller, Mike Mimm, a great showing from him. He finishes 14th overall, 8th in class. Then it's Conrad Geist, Shane Leathers, Tony Melito, Pat Womack, Niels Meissner, and Eric Lapp. Well, that does it for our broadcast day here at Circuit of the Americas. I want to thank Riley Dickinson for joining us this race, Joe Peak for joining us all weekend long, and the entire wonderful flow racing videos that we have here. My name's Jeremy Scott. Thanks for watching. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning for endurance practice here at Circuit of the Americas.